Hey everyone, it's CreepypastaNightmares here. Before we jump into today's video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And if you have any thoughts on the stories in this video, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I always love hearing your feedback. Now, let's get into the terrifying story. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you all have an awesome day. The knock on the hood came at sunset. Just 3 little taps, soft enough to pretend they were friendly. But by then we knew better. I didn't want to go that weekend. Not really. Not for the forest, not for the people. But I said yes anyway. Campus had turned into a ghost town for Thanksgiving break. Most students were back in their hometowns, curled up in front of TVs with family and leftovers. I was stuck in the dorm, no car, no plans, no real friends to spend the holiday with. My roommate had left 2 days ago without a word, and the common area had started to smell like microwaved mac and cheese and mildew. Then Tasha asked me, "You're staying here?" She'd said in an offhand way after anthropology class. "Come to Laurel Lake with us, just for the weekend. Cabin's too small, but we're camping out. Better than staring at cinder block walls." I barely knew her, just from class. She had a kind of casual magnetism. Always late, always laughing. Always chewing on a pen like it was a cigarette. She introduced me once or twice to her friends. Logan, who had that easygoing stoner charm and wore fleece in all seasons. Cam, who looked like he could survive a bear attack, and probably had. And Mal, who spoke maybe once an hour but whose eyes saw everything. So I said yes, because I didn't want to be alone. Because I wanted to feel like I belonged to something. We left early Saturday morning in Logan's beat-up white Pathfinder. The kind that smelled like fuel and bad decisions. The back seat was piled with sleeping bags, backpacks, a roll of duct tape, and a cooler filled with what I'd later learn were homemade hard cider bottles. The city faded fast. Sidewalks to dirt roads to twisting mountain trails. The GPS blinked out before we hit the second ridge. No signal. Just a printed map Cam had drawn on in pen, with notes like, "Do not go past old trail sign. Stay left after bent tree." "I swear it's a real spot," Cam said, pointing to a little circle scribbled in Sharpie. "Old forestry land, no campgrounds, no fees, total privacy." "Like hippie privacy or murder privacy?" Tasha asked, raising an eyebrow. "Both probably," Logan laughed. "We've been up here a few times. Just never this late in the season." The road got rougher as we climbed. The trees closed in tight on both sides. Douglas firs mostly, tall enough to block out the sky. Sunlight barely filtered through, and when it did, it looked wrong. Faded, pale, like the forest swallowed it before it could touch the dirt. It felt old out there, not just lots of trees old, something deeper, something still. "There's a legend about this place," Cam said as we crawled around a sharp bend. "Under the lake, there used to be a town. Back before the dam went up, they flooded the valley and drowned everything. Churches, homes, a graveyard." "That's been debunked like 1,000 times," Mal murmured from behind her hooded sweater. "There's no town, just stumps and rocks." "I don't know," Cam said with a grin. "Some people claim on windless nights you can still hear the church bell ringing beneath the water." "Oh good," Tasha said dryly. "A bell from the lake. That's not cursed at all." The lake I knew was still an hour away, but the way they talked made my skin prickle. I tried to focus on the trees instead, on the road ahead, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being swallowed, that this trail wasn't just cut through the forest, but into something. Then the car hit something hard. The front tires jolted violently. The whole vehicle lurched, and we skidded sideways onto a weed-choked shoulder. My shoulder slammed against the window. Tasha shouted. Mal grabbed the ceiling handle with a snapped curse. Logan killed the engine. What the hell was that? I asked, voice tight. We piled out. Tam was already at the front tire. Guys, he whistled, look at this. The right front tire was shredded, a 2-foot-long spike of wood piercing straight through the rubber. Hand-carved, bark stripped clean. The pointed end burrowed so deep into the tread that Logan couldn't pull it out. Maybe it fell from a branch, I offered, hoping. Cam shook his head. Look at the base. This was driven into the ground. That was placed, like a trap. For who? Tasha asked. Hunters? Trespassers, Mel said softly. Logan tried his phone, then Cam, then Tasha. Nothing, not even a flicker. Cool, Logan said. Guess I'll walk back. What? I asked. Alone? Only option, he said. There's an old fire tower about 3 miles back. I can get a signal there, maybe flag a ranger. I'll be back before dark. He popped the trunk and pulled out his pack. I saw a roll of gauze, 2 energy bars, a folding knife, and a black object cucked into the side. He took it out. A gun. You brought a gun? Tasha asked, eyes wide. It's registered, Logan said, and I bring it every time I come up here. For bears? I asked. He hesitated. Among other things, Mel folded her arms. Say it. Look, Logan said, his face suddenly still. Some people think these woods are haunted. Not just in a ghost way. In a copycat way. What? I asked. Legends, Cam added. Things that mimic people. Walk like you, talk like you, but get the details wrong. What, like doppelgangers? Tasha asked. They call them mirrors out here, Logan said. Say they'll come to your camp at night, pretending to be someone you trust. Friend, family, they'll smile, say the right things, until you notice something's off. How do you know? Mal asked. You ask questions, he said. Stuff only the real person would know. Specific ones. And if they hesitate, he slid the pistol into his waistband. Don't let them in. You're serious, I said. He nodded. Ask me 3 things when I come back. What my dog's name was growing up. What color my brother's truck is. What movie made me cry in 7th grade. Won't miss a beat. And then he was gone, swallowed by the trees. The sun kept falling. Tasha turned up her music again. A band I'd never heard of. Ambient and dreamy. The kind that sounds like it's fading away even when it's playing. Cam sat on the hood, picking at the laces on his boots. I stayed in the passenger seat. Mal was in back, staring out the window with her arms crossed. I don't like this, I mumbled to no one. Well, Cam said, we're stuck either way. Hey, you okay? Tasha asked me. She leaned over the console a little, her voice lower. You're shaking. I looked at my hands. She was right. I just feel like we shouldn't be here. Welcome to the club. We waited 40 minutes, maybe more. Then we heard it, a scream. Not a human one, not even an animal. It started like a growl and warped into something language-shaped. Like a voice straining to mimic speech but failing. The sound bent in the air, twisted, like it didn't belong here. I froze. What the fuck was that? Tasha whispered. Was that? Cam started. And then we saw someone coming through the trees. Logan. Or something that looked like Logan. He staggered out of the woods into the gravel road and stopped a dozen feet away. Same clothes, same face, but wrong. It took me a full 3 seconds to realize his eyes were moving out of sync. Like the right one twitched just a bit slower. And his smile? It was too fixed, too pleasant. Hey, he called out. It's me. No one moved. Got a signal? Called a truck. Should be here soon. Mal's hand moved to her jacket pocket, fingers wrapping around the pocket knife. What's your dog's name? She asked. Logan smiled. Rufus. Nope, Cam said. It was Marbles. The fake Logan paused, just for a second. Then he laughed. The sound was wrong, too smooth, like a recording playing on the wrong speed. I meant Marbles, he said. Slipped my mind. What color is your brother's truck? Tasha asked. Red. It's blue, I whispered. What movie made you cry in 7th grade? Cam added. Logan's head twitched. Honestly, I don't remember. And the smile stayed exactly the same. Mal raised the crowbar. The thing's face twisted slightly, like the mask had begun to slip. You shouldn't have asked that, it said. You really shouldn't have. Then it stepped forward. Tasha shrieked. Cam scrambled into the driver's seat and slammed the door. The thing hit the hood with both hands. The metal buckled under the impact, like it was made of tinfoil. Let me in, it whispered. Mal yanked her backpack over her shoulders and drew her knife. We're leaving, she said. But the tire, I started. Doesn't matter. We move now. Cam threw the Pathfinder into reverse. The wheels spun, the damaged tires shrieking, but we moved. The mimic just watched, still smiling, still trying to look right. We backed away, down the road, gravel spitting out behind us. I looked over my shoulder once and saw 4 more shapes moving through the trees behind it. None of them were Logan. We didn't stop driving for almost 20 minutes. Cam kept the Pathfinder crawling forward on its failing tires, the engine straining with each graveled dip in the road. Every few minutes, the Jeep would lurch violently to the left or right, and one of us would yell or curse under our breath. But no one said the obvious out loud. We had no idea where we were going. The damaged tire shrieked against the dirt. The trees closed in tighter on both sides, not just taller, but leaning inward now, as if the forest itself was shaping the path ahead of us. There were no birds, no wind, just the engine and the dull, steady trench of gravel. We should have hit the switchback by now, Mal said, staring out the window. Cam didn't reply. No, I said. Look, that boulder on the left. We saw that before, right? We passed it? We did, Tasha said from the back. But it was on the other side of the road last time. I turned in my seat to look back. There was no bend, no fork, no place we could have turned around without knowing. But everything looked different. We drove in silence for a few more minutes, the mountainside growing steeper around us. Then Mal said, Stop the car. Cam hit the brakes. Mal opened her door and stepped into the road, staring down at the dirt. I followed, unsure why. Then I saw them, our footprints, in the mud, in the exact order we'd been walking earlier. Mal's boots, Cam's larger ones, my scuffed left shoe with the loose lace I never tied properly. They were ahead of us. How? I started. We're looping, Mal said. The forest is turning us around. Is that even possible? Tasha asked, climbing out behind us. It's a straight road. Wasn't a straight road a few minutes ago, Ken muttered. Not anymore. I looked back down the path we'd just traveled. It looked the same as the way forward, as if we were in a loop, a noose, and the forest was pulling it tighter. 15 minutes later, the path dead-ended. It wasn't a fork, not a tree fall, not a trailhead, just a wall of green, thick roots, branches, and undisturbed earth rising straight out of the road, like the forest had grown over the trail, while we were looking the other way. "Well," Cam said, putting the Jeep in park, "that's that." Mal got out first, scanning the trees. "We can't stay here." "We're boxed in," I said. "If that thing catches up." "It's not a thing," she said flatly. I swallowed. "Right." Tasha nodded toward a narrow footpath, disappearing into the trees on the right. "That's not the road, but it goes somewhere." We grabbed our packs, what we could carry, and abandoned the Jeep. We didn't talk much as we walked. The footpath twisted through dense woods that felt even older than before. Branches were lower here, covered in lichen and stringy moss that dripped with condensation. The air smelled like metal and wet rock. Every step felt harder, like the air pushed back. "I think we're close to the lake," Cam said quietly. "There should be a secondary trail near the waterline." "Great," Tasha said. "Maybe we can ask the drowned town for directions." "You don't actually believe that story," Cam said. "I don't know what I believe anymore." We crossed a tree with a fresh scratch down its center. 6 long gouges, like claws, too deep for a cat, too high for a wolf. Mal ran her fingertips along the bark. "It's watching us. Not something is watching us. It." The first mimic appeared around the next bend. Logan, standing just off the path in the trees. He didn't move, didn't call out. He just stood there, arms at his sides, head tilted slightly, like he was trying to understand what he was looking at. His smile was small, gentle, familiar. I slowed, breath catching. "Keep moving," Mal said. "Don't look at it." We passed it in silence. It watched us go. The second mimic appeared maybe 10 minutes later. Tasha this time, hair down, different clothes, no headlamp. She stood on the other side of the path, mirroring the first one. I glanced at the real Tasha. She was white-knuckling the strap of her pack, breathing too fast. "Don't look at it," I said. She didn't answer. By the time the third mimic appeared, we were moving fast enough to be jogging. It looked like me, down to the wrinkled shirt, the torn strap on my pack, even the small scar on my right temple I'd had since childhood. I couldn't help myself. I stopped, and it smiled at me. I felt a hand on my arm. "Tam, don't. It wants you to stare, to stop." "Why?" "Because it's learning." The path opened into a clearing maybe an hour later, just as the sun started to slip behind the ridge. There, shimmering and still, was Laurel Lake. And it was wrong. The trees on the other side reflected perfectly in the glassy surface, too perfectly, like a mirror, not a body of water. A single ripple cut across the surface near the shore. "Do you hear that?" Mal asked. We listened. Beneath the wind, beneath the water, a dull metallic clang, deep, distant, a bell. No one spoke. We made camp on a small patch of gravel above the bank. No fire, no talking. Just tent stakes, cold hands, and the silence of the forest pressing in on us. Camp was shallow, exposed. I hated it. Cam took first watch. I dozed, sort of, the kind of sleep that never really starts. Just a series of blinks. I couldn't get that sound out of my head. The bell, the stillness of the water, the reflections that never moved even when the wind blew. A crunch woke me. I sat up. Cam was standing at the edge of the lake, shining his flashlight into the water. "Cam?" I whispered. He didn't respond. I got to my feet and walked forward slowly. My boots cracking twigs, he turned toward me and smiled. not Cam. "Come look," he said. "They're singing down there." His voice was right. The face was perfect. But the way he blinked, one eye a full second after the other, made my blood go cold. Then I heard movement behind me. The real Cam. "Get away from it," he shouted. The mimic's head jerked to Cam, then to me. It moved in a snap, too fast, too fluid, and then it charged. Cam slammed into it mid-run, and they hit the ground hard. Mal was there a second later with the crowbar. She brought it down once, twice, 3 times. The thing shrieked. Not a human shriek, not an animal shriek. It sounded like a choir of broken voices, all singing the same wordless note. It jerked away, twitching like a spider, and disappeared beneath the water. We didn't sleep after that. By morning, a fog had rolled in over the water. The air smelled like old metal and moss. Every inhale felt like inhaling something left in the dark too long. We packed without speaking. Tasha kept looking at the lake. She hadn't said a word since the night before. "There's a service trail on the East Ridge," Cam said. "I saw it last time I came here." We followed him. The path was almost invisible, just a depression in the leaves. Trees crooked inward, creating a tunnel of branches. You walked for hours. It started raining, just a fine mist at first, but enough to slick our clothes and turn the dirt to paste. And then we found the cabin. It sat crooked in the trees, half collapsed, with its roof caved in on one side and windows shattered long ago, but it was shelter. Inside, it smelled like damp cloth and rotting wood. The floor creaked. The stove was rusted shut. And there, scratched into the back wall, deep over and over in what looked like fingernails, were 3 words. "It learns what you love." "What does that mean?" I asked. No one answered. Tasha stared at it for a long time, her face blank. Cam sat by the window, wiping mud off his pack. "My brother drowned in a lake," he said suddenly. We looked at him. "I was 11, he continued. "We were playing. I thought he was joking, pretending to sink. I was laughing while he went under." Tasha put a hand on his shoulder. He shrugged it off. "I haven't been back to a lake since, until now." Mal knelt by the scratched wall. She touched the letters. They were deep, old. "Someone else came through here," she said. "Someone who knew what was happening." "Do they make it?" I asked. Cam held up a folded page from a journal he found in the stove, half burnt, the edges curled. "Does this look like making it?" We took shifts. I stayed awake, listening. The forest had gone quiet again, the kind of quiet that feels mean. Then came the knock. 3 taps, slow, against the door. Mal was up instantly, hand on the crowbar. "Who's there?" she asked. A voice came back. "Tasha." But Tasha was right next to me. "I got lost," the voice said. "I tripped near the water. I'm okay, but I need help." Tasha's fingers wrapped around my arm, tight. "That's not me," she whispered. Mal froze. "It sounds like her," she said. "Don't open the door," Cam said. "Please," the voice begged. "I'm hurt. I'm cold." And then it started to sob. Loud, messy, real. I saw Mal's hand tremble on the handle. "You've seen this before," I said. "Haven't you?" She didn't answer. Cam stepped between her and the door, and the sobbing stopped. The voice changed, lower now. "You'll come out eventually," it said. "They always do." We didn't move. A moment passed, then another. And then somewhere behind us, a second knock from the back wall, where there was no door. We turned slowly. No one moved for what felt like an hour. Then Mal said, "Something's inside." We backed into a corner. Tasha clutched the flashlight. Cam raised the crowbar. I held my breath, but nothing happened. Nothing moved. After a while, the sound of rain returned. Mal checked the back window. Fogged. She wiped it with her sleeve and stared. "What?" I asked. Her face was pale. "There's a handprint. On the window?" She shook her head. "On the inside." The handprint was still wet. It shouldn't have been possible. Mal backed away from the window, like something might burst through it. The rest of us stood frozen, staring at the pale, smeared outline on the inside of the glass. 5 long fingers, human, maybe, but barely. Ken was the first to speak. "That wasn't there before. No one touched it," I said. "We would have seen." I took a slow step toward the window. Closer now, I saw a second print, fainter, higher up, like someone had leaned in from the inside, except there was no glass. The paint had shattered years ago. The handprint was resting in empty air. Tasha whispered, "We need to get out of here." And then we heard it. Laughter, not from one place, but from all around. A strangled, dry, forced sound, like someone who'd never laughed before trying to mimic it. Then another laugh, higher, scratchier. A third, familiar, shaky, too much like my own. "It's starting," Mal said. "They're done practicing." We grabbed our gear. Cam drew a flare from his pack and lit it, the red light throwing dancing shadows against the cabin walls. Outside, the fog thickened. Not natural mist, but directional, as if something was breathing it into the clearing from the trees themselves. We didn't waste time. Nal led the way down a slanted ridge toward a game trail she claimed would cut back to a ranger service road. Her voice was steady, but her knuckles were white around the crowbar. The path was slippery from rain and roots. Branches snatched at our clothes. Once or twice, I thought I heard footsteps right behind me, but every time I looked, there was nothing. Nothing I could see, but I felt them. And then we saw them, ourselves, figures moving between trees, keeping pace, mirrored versions of us, just out of focus. Cam's shape, shouldering through the branches, Tasha's frame, turning to smile with her head cocked at that slight angle she always used when she wasn't sure whether to laugh or fight. Mal's copy was the closest. It moved like her, stood like her, but it was too still, too patient. "Don't look," Mal said, without turning. "Why?" I asked. "'Cause it wants to see if you'll hesitate." We reached a stream about 40 minutes later. The water was brown from mud and fast from rain, but the sound of it was almost a relief, something real to hold on to. "Downstream leads to the dam," Mal said. "If we stay on this path, we'll cross a service tower." "Do we stay together?" Cam asked, his voice tight. Mal looked at him sharply. "We stay exactly together." We followed the stream for another mile before the path opened into a clearing. At the center, skewed slightly on its foundation, stood a fire lookout tower. Rusted steel, flaking paint, ladder still intact. No windows, no door at the base. "It'll have visibility," Mal said. "And one way up." She didn't have to say the obvious. Only one way in. We climbed. Cam first, then Tasha, then me. Mal took up the rear. When I looked down, I saw shapes beginning to emerge at the edge of the clearing. Dozens of them. They stayed in the trees, watching. One of them, a copy of me, mimicked the exact way I had climbed onto the ladder. The stagger of my foot, the shift of weight on my left hip, even the nervous look over my shoulder. And it smiled when it saw me see it. The tower was cramped at the top. A half-collapsed roof, a broken radio, old coffee cans and mouse droppings in the corner. The hatch closed, but the lock had rotted away long ago. We huddled together in the shadows. How many do you think there are? Tasha asked. More than us, Cam said. Not just versions of us, I added. There were others, strangers, faces I didn't recognize. Mal stared out the window. They don't need to copy strangers, she said. Only the ones they want to replace. Why us? Tasha asked. Why anyone? Mal's voice was quiet. Because we're easy to forget. That landed like a gut punch. And then she said it. I was here last summer. We looked at her. Mal kept staring out at the fog. Not here exactly. Different ridge, different trailhead. I was with 3 others. We found a campfire that hadn't gone out. Figured someone had just left. Then, one of them came back. Came back? I asked. Our friend Jen. She'd been missing 2 days. No injuries, no dirt, just smiling, just waiting. She looked at me for the first time. We didn't ask the right questions. Night fell. We kept a loose watch, but no one really slept. At some point, the knocking started. 3 taps on the ladder hatch. Pause. 3 more. Then a new pattern. Faster, harder, like drums building towards something. The wood creaked underneath us. Voices followed. At first it was Cam's. Let me in. It's me. I'm hurt. I'm stuck. Then mine. Please, they're coming. I'm not like them. Then Mal's. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have let them go. Each voice was perfect. Inflection, word choice, pause length, real. Tasha was curled against the wall, shaking. I can't listen to this. They're just sounds, I said. They're not us. They will be, Mal said, if we let them. And then a new voice, deep, inhuman, calm. You're almost ready. It came from inside the tower, not loud, but close. You've let go of who you were. Now we can make something better. Cam stood up, heart racing. He looked at me. Did you hear that? I heard it. Was that? No. A hand slapped the window frame. We whipped around. A face stared back at us through the glassless frame. Logan. But this time, he looked real, pale, cut, breathing hard. He held up a photo, him and Mal at a bonfire, smiling, her hand around his neck. That's real, Mal whispered. I remember that night. He mouthed the words. Help me. I moved toward the window. Wait, Mal grabbed my arm. It's him, I shouted. You don't know that. I looked again. His eyes were glassy, skin split at the cheek, one shoe missing. But he kept holding up the photo, and the expression on his face, desperate, not staged, real. Cam came to the window too. We should go, just check. Mal stepped back. I'll stay. What? If it's a trap, someone has to stay behind. Hold the door. I shook my head. We're not leaving you. She smiled. It was small, and real, and final. You don't have to believe me, she said. Just tell them what happened. What if they don't listen? They never do. We descended the ladder. When I looked up, the hatch was closed again. She never followed. The fog was thicker at ground level. Logan stood at the edge of the trees, holding the photo with both hands. He looked like he'd been running for days. We ran to him. He collapsed into Cam's arms. It's me, he said. I swear to God, I escaped. His voice was cracked, raw. I kneeled beside him and froze. His boots, left on right, right on left, no laces. I looked at his hands, no cuts, not even dirt under the nails. What's my dog's name? I asked. He blinked. What? Winley met. What dog did I say I grew up with? He stared at me. Milo? Wrong, I said. stepping back. It was Sarge. Cam lowered him to the ground. What movie made you cry in 7th grade? Why does that matter? Cam's eyes darkened. Say it. Logan looked around. Then his expression changed. Gone was the fear, the panic, replaced by calm, and then came the smile. I don't need to copy him anymore, it said, and it changed, not into any of us, into something new. Its body stretched, legs cracking, jaw unhinged into a wet, grinning oval. Its skin turned gray, paper thin, like waxed cloth wrapped around skeletons that hadn't finished decaying. Where its eyes should have been were mirrors, and behind its teeth was a second smile. Cam struck first, crowbar to the head. It shrieked. The sound 1,000 voices echoing out of a single throat. I grabbed Tasha's arm and we ran. It didn't follow, but the others did. The forest erupted with movement, figures pouring from the trees, some with our faces, some with strangers, some with none. We ran until my legs felt like glass, until the fog lifted and we hit the road. A ranger found us just after dawn, an old Ford truck. We waved our arms until he stopped. He gave us blankets, radioed for a sheriff. When we told him where we'd come from, he went quiet. There ain't no lookout tower out there, he said. Yes, there is, Cam replied. He shook his head. There was, burned out years ago. The investigation lasted a week. They found our camp, our footprints, the Jeep. They didn't find Mal. The tower was there, half collapsed, but no scratches, no handprints, no photo. They said we'd gotten lost, suffered exposure, hallucinations, maybe a gas leak from an old mine shaft. They gave us numbers to call. Cam never used them. Tasha dropped out a month later. She left me a voicemail once. If they get me, she said, ask me what I used to sing in the shower. If I hesitate, it's not me. She never told me the answer. 3 months later, I don't sleep much. I still live in the city. Every so often, I see them outside my building. A girl with Tasha's smile, a boy with Cam's jacket, now in her black hoodie, standing under the streetlight. Sometimes I see myself, leaning against a street sign, staring up at my window, waiting. They don't move. They don't come closer. They don't have to. One night I got a voicemail. I wasn't expecting a call. No one uses my number anymore. It was just breathing, slow, familiar. Then my own voice. I remember now. It was Finding Nemo, but I don't remember ever crying during that movie. I don't remember if I ever watched it. And when I looked in the bathroom mirror this morning, there was a handprint on the inside of the glass, and it wasn't mine.